Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Kelly, and you're listening to the Everywhere We Go podcast. On this week's episode, I sit down with James Patrice. It was a genuine privilege to sit down with James. His Malahide woman persona inspires body confidence throughout women of all ages, and his ask my arse attitude is something to be applauded. James is blessed because he has something so special. The unequivocal support of his family. Mom Fran, who at the very start sent him on his journey to be the man he is today. To his hard-working father, Jim, donning a wig and a fag to play Doc Cotton in one of their famous EastEnders sketches. And his sister, his best friend, Vanessa, who always has his back. We chat through all of this and more. He tells me about his near-death experience at the age of 10 and about the many champions he has in his life, especially Suzie, who saw something in him and gave him his first of many opportunities. As I said, James is so blessed and deserves it all. I will be forever grateful for his time and the kindness he has shown me since we sat down together. Thank you, James. Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are and where we come from. So who are you and where do you come from?
Well, hello. My name is James Patrice and I come from Malahide in County Dublin. Malahide, to sound fancier.
James, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Oh, I'm so excited, Rebecca. I know, because it's been a while. Yes. In the happening, even in a lockdown, somehow we're still busy. I'm delighted to finally sit down and chat with you, Rebecca. It'll be great. I'm admiring your kitchen.
Thank you.
It's gorgeous.
We built this house about 2.5 years ago, and I swear it was like blood, sweat, and tears, and nearly divorce went into it, but it's worth it now.
Well, it was worth it for that cabinet. You know what I mean? I mean, we got divorced, but sure, we get the brass knobs.
Look at it. And James, last night, I was on just a story last night, and everyone was like, when I said I'm really excited for tomorrow, everyone was like, is it James Patrice? Oh my God, did you get it? Yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to say. Anyway. So that's
a nice way of saying yes, but no.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning, James. There's in the house, growing up, there was yourself, Vanessa. Vanessa is 5 years older or 4 years older than you?
5 years older, yes. Even though some people think that I'm older because I look older, because she never ages, the bitch. So yes, Vanessa's older. So yeah, so myself, Vanessa, my mum and my dad. So my dad is Jim, well, short for James. So he's James as well. And my mum is Fran, which is short for Veronica. Veronica is mum's name. Yes, she wiped the face of Jesus in the Stations of the Cross. So she did. Yes. So the four of us just, yeah.
So tell me about growing up in the house. Like, was it always theatrical? Was it, or did that just come later on in life?
It was definitely always theatrical, I have to say. I mean, like, mum is always a little bit eccentric, you know, and a great crack. And my sister, Vanessa, she would have started, I mean, when she was like 4, she started the Irish dancing, she started the speech and drama, and then she was into singing. And she's a trained soprano, so she sang all her life and still does. And so there was always that bit of music in the house, always stuff going on. And then I, as a kid, was painfully shy. Like, when you look at my junior infants photo, I look as though I'm being held captive.
You do.
And, you know, and they're threatening me. Say you're enjoying it. So I was very shy. And my mum, I suppose she saw, you know, what speech and drama had done for Vanessa. You know, Vanessa was always super confident and very outgoing. So mum and dad decided, she will put James into it as well. And they did. And I loved it, I have to say. And it was fantastic. And from then on, I guess, you know, the confidence started to build a bit, but I was still very, very quiet. Always. And I suppose, but I liked speech and drama because for the 2 hours a week, you know, I was able to, you could be someone else, you know what I mean? And for whatever reason, I just was very shy. And I was happy then with the speech and drama and that. And we were always, when we were growing up, doing skits around the house. We would reenact Fair City scenes for some reason. You know, it was the height of dramatics. And so it was always a bit of fun. But I suppose it was kind of a weird, because I never really translated out. We're always, you know, jump, like, you know, messing in school or anything like that. I was always fairly good. Wouldn't be a troublemaker. So yeah, it was great fun growing up, I have to say. Chaotic, but lovely. And mum and dad were, I suppose the thing is, they put everything into us in terms of music and drama and all that. Like, mum and dad wouldn't be going for drinks after work or at the weekend, or they seldom did they do anything, just the two of them. And any pennies they had was straight into us, which I appreciate so much, and I still do to this day.
You can see that through everything that you've done on your social media as well. Like, Fran's always at some event with you, you know what I mean? So you can really see that, like, you're paying it back. Her,
she's amazing. She's the driving force, I suppose, and the good thing was she was never pushy either. So if we did something when we were younger, we didn't like it, we just didn't, that was fine. I did a bit of Irish dance when I was younger, and then I quit because I was the only boy, and the girls wouldn't hold my hand in class. It's graceful. I remember my mum did Irish dancing for Ireland for years back in the 60s and stuff, and so she would have loved for me to keep going, but I was like, I can't. She's like, James, don't worry, do something else, so there was never any pushing. It was always, are you enjoying it? Well, keep doing it, that kind of way.
And then what was school like, in the sense that if you were doing all that drama and stuff like that, like, at what age did you realize that you were gay?
God, it's a good question, I suppose. I mean, I think you might just kind of always know, and regardless of drama or music or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, as we know, that doesn't equate to
yes, of course.
It at all. But I suppose that there was maybe a bit of, I would say it's maybe, would you use those tools to perhaps express something else that you weren't able to express as yourself, perhaps, So, yeah, I mean, it's a good question, Rebecca. I suppose it's kind of always there, and everyone's different. And I won't speak for everyone when I say that you might know when you're 13, 14, 15. It's very individual, and people can, there's no rule as such. But yeah, I mean, you always have an inkling, you know what I mean? Like, you're looking at the Stephen Gately poster, Lord of Mercy, and I mean, you're going, oh, hello, so there is always that thing there. But and then I suppose it's kind of it's yourself, and it's when you're comfortable. I saw a good inspirational quote the other day. It was more of a theory, and it was saying, like, about why people need pride and that, and it was like, queer people nowadays are perhaps still unveiling themselves because their youth was spent as a version of themselves that they built up to hide from society, because you were afraid to be gay and to be queer. So that's an interesting way of putting it. So I think we're all, and maybe that's not just for LGBTQ plus people, that's for everyone. We all have a bit of a version of ourselves growing up, and life is for picking away at that and letting your true self blossom through.
And then tell me about, did I see that you were very sick when you were 10? You had the, what was it? You had the meningitis. Yeah.
Yes, I did. Yeah, so I was 10 and I got meningitis and septicemia, and it was just, Jesus. I mean, literally touch and go, Rebecca. People say your life flashes before your eyes. Well, it did for me anyway. Yes, I was 10. I had it. It was the 3rd of January, and Mum and Dad was working. Dad was a barman all his life, and I was just at home, me, Mum, Vanessa, and it was after it was the year 2000, so it was after the millennium and stuff, and I was just sitting around eating the end of the selection boxes. I was like, I don't feel too good, and then lo and behold, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and Mum had been keeping an eye on me, and Dad, they started to notice red dots on my legs. They were like, oh Jesus, here we go. Now, I say 3 o'clock, it could have been 5 o'clock, I don't even know.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they weren't sure, and our GP, Dr. Pagliacci, he's since passed away. He was amazing. He lived in Malahide as well. So Dad drove over. I don't know if they woke the house up. I don't know what was going on. But anyway, Dr. Pagliacci was there, and he says, oh, this is meningitis. And timing wise, it worked out better because Dr. Pagliacci then rang into Temple Street, and he was like, Jim, to my dad, he was like, drive in now, it's quicker. So Dad, I remember being kind of a bit past out in the back seat, broke every red light going. So sorry about that on Garda Síochána. Oh well. And yeah, and in we went, and then the following 48 hours were critical, really, because we didn't know whether it was going to be, I suppose, life or death. Really, they said to my mum, look, the 48 hours are critical here. We're not sure what's going on. It's meningitis. It was a lot of outbreaks of it that year, and yeah, so for those 48 hours, it was just it was touch and go. But in the end, I powered through, thankfully. So I was in hospital for 10 days altogether, and yeah, it was crazy. You know, it really was. I don't remember some of it. I remember other bits of it. I remember you know, bits like them cutting my vest open. I remember being in intensive care. I was in kind of a quarantine area for a while. It was chaotic. It was madness altogether. But I got through it. You know, and I suppose it's probably why, Rebecca, my mum and dad and my sister and I were so close.
Yeah.
You know, because when you go through something like that, and it was all a bit, you know, it was a bit nerve wracking, shall we say?
Yeah, because Vanessa would have been 14, and so she would have been fully aware of this going on. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so I was 10, Rebecca. She was 15. Yes, you're right. And yes, it was terrible for her. She had to stay at home. You know, I kind of just wait for the phone to ring. It was all a bit. It's like, you know, I suppose she probably, mum and dad, I imagine, may not have told her the full extent of it. You know, just James isn't well. He's in hospital. So yeah, it was pretty intense. You know, and I suppose that's why I myself am very much, look, who cares? You know what I mean? Because when your life flashes before your eyes, which it's a weird kind of thing to describe. I mean, maybe it's psychological, maybe it's real, but I remember being in the intensive care, and I remember just literally, I remember that there was a kind of or the quarantine, whatever it was a windowed room. And I remember seeing Vanessa looking at me through it, and then I said after, like, "Oh, Vanessa, you were there." She said, "I wasn't there at all, James." So obviously I in my head saw Vanessa knocking through the glass, and then I saw the road, and I live near Malahide Castle, and there's a back road up that you can take, which is shorter to get to us. And I remember just driving up that road and seeing my mum, my dad, my sister, my granny, my nana, seeing them all. And then when I woke up the next time, I was in intensive care, but I was out in the woods. So I don't know if you've any experience yourself, Rebecca, but it's true. It does flash before your eyes, which is a weird thing to describe. And I would be a spiritual person, so I do believe that there's something that was perhaps guiding me back. I think. I don't know. I'll never know.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
That's the thing.
And because a friend of mine, she went through the same thing, but I think she was in months in hospital, and she had the same thing as you had. And I think she's around the same age as you. And it's just mad, as you said, there was so many cases of it back then. But as you said, is that the reason? Because I do want to ask you, of course, everyone wants to know, like, the whole, I'll move on really quickly, Malahide woman, like, where did she come from? And again, do you have more confidence doing Malahide woman as you do James Patrice?
So it's such an interesting point to make, Rebecca. Yeah, like she was born, I suppose, maybe it was basically maybe almost 2 years ago now. I was out for a walk, and I was on my stories, and I was wearing chunky runners, and I literally was like, Jesus, I'm like one of those women that goes to the tennis club, you know, carrying the tennis racket with no intention of playing whatsoever. It's just to be seen. And I'm walking along here, so I'm like a Malahide woman. And then I kind of just stuck, and I kind of just started doing, like, I'd come on stories and just talk as her, like, you know, I was trying to get a quinoa panini for Cian, but sure, look, there was none left. And it kind of just materialised then. There was the kids, Cian, Isabella, the husband, Declan, her best friends, Geraldine, the rest. It all just kind of in my head was there. And then I remember it was Halloween that year. I was like, what can I dress up as? And then people had always said to me, what does Malahide woman look like? And I would come on and I'd describe, I'd say, oh, she would have the perfectly coiffed, you know, sandy blonde hair. She'd have the wedges. She'd have the whole lot. And then I was like, fuck it, I'll dress up as Malahide woman. So into Pennies, got a few bits, and I had a wig from a lovely lady that I used to work in Oxfam with years ago, who had cancer. And she knew I was doing drama in college at the time, and she was like, "Oh, James, you're always probably looking for wigs and props. Here's 2 wigs." I said, "Oh, are you sure?" She goes, "Well, I don't need them anymore, thankfully." So Malahide Woman's blonde wig used to belong to a lovely lady called Mary, who very kindly. So I always feel a little bit proud when I wear it, because I'm like, oh wow, that's a symbol of Mary kicking something's ass, you know. But so I dressed up for Halloween anyway, and it kind of just went from there. And I mean, but then it was kind of, I think between the Halloween that year and maybe whenever the lockdown even started, I think I was probably only dressed up as her like maybe a handful of times, and it wasn't even that much of a commitment to just be putting the wig on and doing a few bits. And then when lockdown hit, I kind of was like, "Jeez, here we go now. Here's a bit of boredom." And I remember my mum had said, "James, God, you're always, you know," Mum said, "I think you have something there with Malahide Woman, you know." But usually I would just, as I said, pick up the phone and ramble. So yeah, and Mum had said, "Oh, why don't you, you know, put some ideas down, write some stuff." So I did, and then I kind of started to get a few ideas going and a few scenarios and a few skits, and yeah, I went from there. But I suppose Malahide Woman is someone who doesn't give a bollocks. And I suppose I myself was openly talk about, you know, body image and that, but I find sometimes if you want to be heard more, like people might be more inclined to listen to, you know, a 6'6" woman with a beard, you know, who has something to say because she's in a full sequin guna. So I don't know, I find that perhaps maybe she brings a bit of fun to something that I want to say, which makes it a little less intense perhaps, but you're still getting the message across. Yeah. So for example, ask my arse, body image, not giving a shite. She just makes it a bit more fun, but I feel if to look, you'll say, "Oh, okay, she has something to say. I'm going to listen to that." So I hope anyway. That's what happens. So yeah, she's every woman, Rebecca. I think she I like to think she'd appeal. That's why I don't give her a name. I know her name. Yeah. But people say, "What's her name?" And I say, well, everyone messages me and I love it. And they say, "God, we have, you know, Rochestown Woman. We have Black Rock Woman. We have Dingle Woman." And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want to give my woman a name then because it'll take away the illusion of their person. Yeah. So I'm like, I'll keep it a mystique. Maybe someday, if anyone gives a bollock still. We'll see.
You'll have to do like a whole Sex and the City Biggs reveal when the phone rings.
On the phone. Definitely, yes, absolutely.
And who give, like, is it just you with the ideas, or does Fran or Jim or Vanessa say, "Oh, James, why don't you do this for Malahide Woman?" Or do they stay in their lane?
Saying that, yeah, it's usually me, Rebecca, but then sometimes it will be a mix, or it might be something that Mum might say, that I go, "Oh, actually, that's quite Malahide Woman. That's something that I should consider." So I would kind of jot down a few ideas and act upon that. And usually it's when I'm out for the walk that I think of stuff like when I come home from a walk, the notes section.
Hang on, you broke up there. Yeah. Hang on, yep. No.
We're reconnecting.
Yes, we're back.
I'll pick it up, Rebecca. Yes, I will. So usually it's when I'm out for the walk, I'll write down notes if I see something or whatever. But yeah, it'd be kind of a mix, I suppose. And actually, it was when I did the Ask My Arse thing, which James, shall we say, had been trolled about his weight under a video, and it just kind of rotted me, I remember. And it was my sister had said to me, "James, what would Malahide Woman do?" And I was like, actually, yeah, what would she do? And she was like, "Why don't you channel your rot? Because you're sitting there looking at these strangers writing stuff saying, why are they doing that? So instead of trying to understand them, why don't you just maybe let them know how you feel?" So I got into a swimsuit and I coined the term "ask my arse." Then it's kind of applicable for anything in life. Life is too short to be taking the time to upset someone else or write something mean. And it kind of goes for anything. It can be for kids in school. I don't want kids to go around screaming "ask my arse" in the car door either. But well, maybe they can. Yeah. But it applies for anything, Rebecca, in life, in work, in school, family. People can say unnecessary things. And you just have to kind of say to yourself, why am I saying this? Is it going to benefit this person? And think of how they're going to feel about it, which is very philosophical altogether. But it annoys me when people take the time out of their busy day, we're all fucking busy, to write something or send someone a message that really isn't going to benefit anyone, you know.
And like, did you get that? Like, talk me a little bit to me about the trolls, because so many, I know Aoife Devlin, she got trolled. I know some others that got trolled. I honestly don't get it. And I get trolled in the daily by my mother-in-law, right? Like, in the sense that she'd be like, you know, oh, you're wearing that, or, you know, I was working out and doing squats, and she was like, oh my God, your bum's huge. And I was like, oh my God, thanks. And she was like, that's not a compliment.
Cheers.
Yeah. And she's like, it's huge. And I was like, I know, I'm working on it. I'm working on my ass, so thank you. But to deal with it I'm lucky enough that I haven't been. And I think I have a very thick skin, but I'm a Cancerian, so I would kind of take it all in, but on the outside I look fine, do you know what I mean? But what was it like for you to be trolled? And do you know what as well, James? Isn't it so lovely that you had Vanessa, that she was like, don't. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so true. And I suppose, I think first and foremost, that's a fine example of it, is if you're feeling upset, and that can be online or in person, or in, you know, as a young person, you're getting bullied, say it to someone, because you feel so much better. And look, I mean, I'm a 32-year-old man. Someone said online that my jacket was too tight, you know, another gay, Look, I take it on the chin, whatever. But I think the reason what annoyed me was, I remember going, if that was said to me when I was 17, you know, I would have been distraught. And unfortunately nowadays, I think for young people, there's no escape from it. You know, I'm thrilled in school, when I was in school, that there was no Instagram, there was nothing. You know, I never even had Bebo, because I was like, I was free to the idea of putting things up there, putting myself up there, and people having access to it and having access to you, really, you know. And people have ownership over you, I think, nowadays, the social media for young people in particular. So when you come home from school, it doesn't stop. It's WhatsApp, it's Instagram, it's Snapchat. So I just thought to myself, how would I have felt at a younger age getting that? And I thought, it's just not fair. It's not nice. Here is a stranger. And I always love on Facebook, you know, in my weird psychotic way, I will go into the person's profile sometimes, just out of curiosity, and it could be a dad with two young daughters. It could be a grandmother with 6 kids around her, and I'm kind of going, you know, I can see it. Yeah. And you know that, you know, people can see who you are and what you're saying. So I can only imagine that, I suppose, when it's anonymous accounts, you know, the freedom and liberation that they have when commenting. So yeah, I just kind of thought I'd hate that now if I was younger to be doing that. So I just thought to myself, what's a good universal message to say to people for anything? Ask my arse. Mm-hmm. What can you do? And sometimes, and I started kind of commenting back to people. If someone would say, oh, another puff on the telly, another da-da-da, and I'd reply, thank you so much, Jared. Ask my arse. And then they kind of go, well, I wasn't, stifled in something to say, because I don't think that they expect people to retaliate and to take ownership of things. So yeah, I was just like, feck it. Yeah, I'm going to say it. So it's nice, and I just kind of, it's something that I stick in my mind, and it kind of came from my mom, I suppose, over the years. Like she would say, she'd be like, ask me arse, will you, or ask me hole, which I didn't think sounded quite as nice. You know, there wasn't as nice a ring off it.
Yeah,
you know?
Do you know someone from Priorswood, right? Like from Coolax, I was like near Darndale off the Malahide Road. Yeah. Jeez, I didn't think you spoke like that in Malahide.
Oh, let me tell you, wank, tit, arse, you know, it's all there. And fairness, I mean, we would be colourful with our language in this house. And I would try not to bring that onto social, because I'm always like, there would be young people following. I'm not going to, upset anyone. But yeah, we would be colourful. Yes. And so mum, she would always say, ask me arse, ask me hole, you know. So it's, I think it's very effective, because when you think of it, you're literally asking someone to lean down, look into your ring, and ask how it is. You know. So I think it's quite visual, Rebecca.
Yeah,
you know
it is.
I mean?
It is. And come here then. I think that, again, going back to Malahide Woman, like, when, as I said to you, like I have 2 children and my body has changed over the years. And when you put on that latex, the black one.
Oh yeah.
I was like, he looks fucking amazing. Like he looks amazing. And I was like, if James can do it, and this is what Sarah from Ballymunhunt said, like if James can do it, why can't we do it? Like why can't we just put an outfit on us and try and feel good in ourselves?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I myself, well, I suppose I am overweight in a way. I think we're all a little bit overweight, unfortunately, after the lockdown and that. So I would always, I suppose, be a little bit apprehensive dressing myself, you know, years ago. You kind of think, oh, can I wear this? Can I wear that? It was also like, and then I kind of started thinking, oh, why am I saying, can I wear it? I can wear what I bloody like, you know what I mean? And I found myself now, you know, like you come into the summer, you'd be like, oh, I can't wear that t-shirt. I now just think I'm wearing it. I want to wear it. Yes, I may have the start of a B cup going on and an extra layer around the gullet. You're feeling them as well, Rebecca. Yeah. But like, who cares? Like, are you trying to hide it? Like, are you going to go around in illusion dressing all the time? Who gives a bollocks? You know what I mean? You're up, you're going, you're living, you're functioning. Isn't that amazing? Who cares? You know, so with Malahide Woman then she started kind of wearing, you know, fawn chinos and corduroy shirts with polo necks, which she still does, of course. But then I think I just kind of wanted to have a bit of fun with her then and think she is a 40-something-year-old woman, you know, woman of the world. So why wouldn't she have a latex catsuit for Halloween? You know, and I got great crack out of putting it on. And I, you know, say if you were to compare, you know, I wouldn't say that I'm a drag queen, because I think drag queens are just in every sense of the word, and the way they can manipulate their bodies and their faces to you know, imitate the feminine guys is amazing. So they'd like of Davina and Victoria, and that's like, they would cinch and their bodies are phenomenal. I wasn't going to feckin' cinch. You know what I mean? So everything was out. All I ever do is maybe add little waist belts, like, you know, like you would have worn back in the day with Girls Aloud, Love Machine music video or whatever, and tits, which is 2 pair of socks in each one, you know. So that was the only enhancements that I did. And I said, I mean, I would have the hip dip, I would have the arse, I'd have the whole lot. I said, well, like, great, brilliant, look at her, she's going, fair play to her. And I loved it. And the amount of messages that I got, like from yourself, Rebecca, and Ballymunhunt, I was like, Jesus, that was very refreshing to hear. And I suppose it was just growing up over the years, like, say with my sister Vanessa, she would have always, I suppose, I won't say struggled with her weight, because I don't think you should let weight be that strong that I struggle with it, but it would have been something that she would have dealt with over the years in terms of, you know, losing weight and you know, gaining it or whatever. And I remember, like, you'd be going shopping with Vanessa, and she wouldn't mind me saying this at all, she does it herself, and I remember we used to kind of go, oh gosh, there's a flowy maxi dress, I'll wear that. And then we kind of started going, well, there's a lovely wrap dress that shows everything. And we both kind of started saying, well, Vanessa, you look fantastic in it. And yeah, you have this. Great. Why are you hiding it? So I think there's great liberation in just seeing something you like, putting it on and going for it. You know what I mean? And who cares? So yeah, I mean, it's very humbling to me to have women say to me that Malahide Woman, you know, might have given them the kick up the hole to just put on what they want to wear, because I very much want to celebrate women always. And I suppose I would never, I'm very cautious never to make Malahide Woman into, I mean, I suppose she is a bit of a caricature, but she's still her own person. She's still very strong. She still is an incredible woman. Like the women in my life, because most of my people growing up were women, you know, friends and teachers and everything. So yeah, I think I want to celebrate women, absolutely, always endeavor, and I'm always very conscious to have a celebratory point of view when I'm talking about her and doing her, and wear a catsuit. Yeah. Basically. Get her is on you, Rebecca. I will. You'd be great in it.
And come here, did your mom ever get like someone like pulling her and saying, you know, what's James at with that stuff? Or has people just been really cool with it?
People have been cool. They really have, which is nice. And I mean, I've had comments online saying to me, you know, Jesus, it's a bit much there. What are you doing? The odd DM, and I just kind of say, it's called having a laugh. It's called not giving a bollocks. It's called not judging people. It's 2021. If I wanted to go down the street tomorrow in the heels and the catsuit, what's it to you? No, I wouldn't, because my knees are in bits from the heels. I realised I'm not cut out for them. It's too much work. My right knee just be cracking half the time, and not from the good way. You know what I mean? So I just think, what is it to you? What is it to someone? But I mean, thankfully, mum and dad, they get great not messages to Jesus. Mum's on a block yet. Dad barely can function Airtel, but they would get great, you know, comments from people down in Super Value, whatever, and they'd say, "Oh, Jesus, James is gas," and I mean, look, it's all down to them as well, because it's I'm a one man show, so mum and dad are brilliant. They're moving stuff around. If there's a scene here and there, their mum's filming me, their dad's moving ring lights around.
So who is your Insta husband, and is it your Insta mum and dad?
Mum and dad, absolutely. There is the size of a husband near me, so it's mum and dad are just brilliant, and Vanessa as well. They're fantastic, like, you know, and there's killings now. I
can imagine. There's
absolute, because people are always like, we'd love to see you behind the scenes. I'm like, I don't know if that's legally allowed, because we kill each other. Oh, F you, F this, you see, you know, like everything you can think of comes out there, but it's all with love. But yeah, like they're great, and they get lovely feedback from people saying, God, James is gas, or, you know, I loved that thing that you guys did. I was having a shit day that day, and it was gave me a bit of a lift. And that's kind of why I like doing, but I like the skits and stuff, because I know I'm not going to please everyone. I know some people think it is probably the most stupid toilet humor going. That's okay. That's allowed. I'm never going to please everyone in terms of humor, but if some people are still enjoying it and getting a laugh out of it, and maybe see it as a bit of escapism, or maybe it reminds them of someone that they know in a funny way, then that's why I like doing it. Definitely. You know, it's nice to get a bit of feedback and have people enjoy it.
Yeah. And they do. And like, you know, we all do, and we look forward to seeing it. And that's why, and this will go out after the picnic, but yes, that's why we were so excited for the picnic for you. So are you nervous?
Oh, so sorry, Rebecca.
Are you nervous?
Gosh, I mean, I am a bit, I suppose, because it's, it's an hour and a half. You know what I mean? Of just little old me. Yeah. So, I mean, I am a bit nervous, but I'm going to just take on board what I've done over the last while. And like, I hosting is what I do. If it's, you know, a TV, if it's events, if it's, you know, you name it, I do it. Give me a mic and an audience, and I'm ready to rock and fine. But I suppose this is a bit different in that it's just about me. But, you know, or Malahide woman, should I say? You know, I'm not there to host something else, or to host an event, or interview someone. It's just me. So that's a little bit daunting, definitely. But I have some things up my sleeve. I have a good few numbers that I shall be performing, and I have my dazzling dolls, my dancers. You know, they shall be there, of course, 2 meters at all times. Very important that I get that across. We're outside as well. And I shall have the Malahide melodies. Mum and Vanessa, Geraldine and Loretta will, of course, have to make a brief cameo themselves. So, but you know, I think it'll be great crack, because it's, you know, it is outside. It was a pain in the left bollocks trying to make it happen, because you know, there was 3 days in the castle. Joanne, Emer and Karen, they were brilliant, and they were kind of fighting tooth and nail for it, and any pushback we got, in fairness, wasn't about it being a pride event, right? It was just, are we allowed to do it legally? Because, you know, see, the thing is, it's not live music, because it's hello, it's a backing track. You know what I mean? It's not. I'm not fucking Radiohead going out to do a gig or something. You know. So we were lucky in that way to be able to do it. But I think it's just a bit of fun, and there's, as I said earlier, Rebecca, there's no growing up. There's no pride representation in Malahide. In fairness, the pub where my dad worked, Founders, they hang a pride flag every year, which is fantastic. But I mean, there's no there was no talking, or there was no event, or there was no workshop or anything. Even in school, there was nothing. You know what I mean? It was very much, when you have a penis and your vagina and you fornicate.
Yes.
What if I have a penis and a hole?
Yeah.
And I want to fornicate that way? You know what I mean? Not that everyone does. Or what if I have two vaginas? You know what I mean? So it was, that's a very infantile way of looking at it, I realise. But, just growing up, there wasn't much there. So I just kind of think it might be nice if it was like a kid now in school looking at it going, oh wow, there's something right down the road in Malahide Castle celebrating exactly who I think I am, or who I think I'm going to be. So that's why I'm looking forward to it, definitely. And it's a bit of fun. It's a bit of a laugh. It's a bit of a celebration. And it's also, are we actually finally getting out of lockdown and COVID and everything? It's a nice way to kickstart things, I think, I hope.
And would you be like me? Were you like sitting on, as soon as you went on sale, were you like, how many have you sold? How many have you sold? What were you like?
I literally... I remember it was the Tuesday night that I put the poster up, and it was the tickets were going on sale Wednesday morning, and I was like, oh Jesus! I remember I had been as on the way home from town. My Vanessa and I had gone for lunch, and I was sitting there and I was like, I'm posting the poster, I'm posting it, and Vanessa just says she'd just be on eggshells around me sometimes because she's like, calm down, you're posting a poster, like it's fine. So up it went anyway, and straight away got a great reaction. Thank goodness. But then yourself, Rebecca, I mean, just because it's a good reaction doesn't mean you're going to sell tickets, and like people might kind of say, oh, that looks great, but like, are they going to go? First of all, it's in Malahide. They might live quite a bit away. It's not like it's in town. It's not like it's a good, easy meeting point. So I was like, oh, how is it going to work out? How will it work? But in the end, it worked out great. And I mean, we're on sale there on Wednesday. Today is, well, not that I'm time stamping this podcast, but within about 2 days or whatever, we're sold out. So yeah, the Friday and Saturday is completely gone, and then there's a small number of tickets left for Thursday night. I'm assuming because people have to work on Friday, but feck it, who cares? So I'm delighted. It's been a good response. And look, I mean, it's not the 3 Arena. It's limited capacity because of COVID, but it's still nice to think. And the reason why I kind of wanted to do it was because the castle, in fairness to them, were very much about, this is our first time to do an LGBTQ plus event. What do you think we should do? How should we go about it? And I said, well, look, once your intention is right from the get-go, I said, I was like, what's the cheapest way you can do it? Yeah. And are you happy for all the money left over from that to go to the Dublin Pride Fund at the Community Foundation for Ireland? I said, are you happy for everything to go? They were like, Jesus. They said, once we cover our food, our PA man, our Prosecco, everything's going. It's all gone. And they were, of course, haggling down prices then as well, because, full transparency, I'm not getting any moolah first. The 2 dolls I have dancing, they're not getting any moolah. So no one's, it's all for the charity, because unfortunately, you see some companies and that can suddenly June, they're just off the cobwebs. Oh, it's Pride. Oh, here we are. And a portion of the proceeds will be going. It's like, well, how much is going to what charity? You have to kind of be, cautious. And then there's great, like say Primark, for example, I think they say every year that whatever they do, guaranteed 50k is going to go. Yeah. That kind of way. So you have that promise from the get-go, which is great. Spotlight, they do, all proceeds are going. So that's great. And that's why I said to the ladies in Malahide Castle, I was like, from the get-go, let's make sure we're doing this right, and they were like, geez, absolutely. So it was great to have that support then. So actually they were brilliant. And we did the photo call for the poster, and that we had balloons coming out of everywhere, and we had the updated Pride flag, which is very important as well. So it was
explain that to me, James. Explain that updated Pride flag.
Oh yes. So it's just another element to it. There's colours to celebrate the amazing work of Black people, and there's also colours to celebrate trans people. Okay. So it's an update, and I mean, look, you can still, of course, use the other flag as well, absolutely. But it's just if you have the chance to use that updated flag, why not? It shows even more colours in the rainbow, which is great.
And James, like as you were saying there about schools teaching children in schools that it's not just a man and a woman, that there's other, so I was talking to a friend of mine down the country, and they were saying to me that in her classroom that there's a girl that's pansexual, a girl that's binary. Now, some of this stuff, James, I was saying to my mother-in-law, myself, and I actually didn't know what binary was. I didn't. And that's probably, is that ignorant of me not to know that, or?
No, and the very fact that you're saying that, Rebecca, shows that you're not ignorant. You're holding your hands up and saying, "Oh, I'm not quite sure," but you want to be educated, and that is the way to do it. I applaud you for it. It's like, we were watching Glow Up the other night, and there was a person on it who chose to be they there. I think, yes, it was they there. And I was explaining it to Mum, and Mum is 68, and she was like, I've heard, she said, non-binary, I've definitely heard something about choosing the pronouns. She goes, but James, she goes, I want to make sure I say the right thing when if it ever comes up in conversation. She's like, will you tell me? Yeah. And I said, Mum, and then Mum is Googling it on the phone, and she's going, oh, brilliant. Okay, great. So you're doing the right thing. Absolutely. You're having the conversation. Great that the kids are having it as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're just learning. You know what I mean? And I assume that no one would ever judge you for asking a question if you're doing it in the right way, but you are doing. And if your intention is to learn and to get more behind people, then brilliant. Absolutely. I think it's great. Yeah. And I think it makes people more, especially because these are 10-year-olds. So these are 10-year-olds that's having this conversation. And at 10 years of age, I wouldn't have ever had a conversation like that. I wouldn't have a conversation. No, we wouldn't have had a clue. No. And that's why I think it's really important now, and I think maybe the schools should step up a little bit, because obviously the kids are talking about between themselves. But do you remember when you'd have that sex talk between your friends, like when you were 50, and you'd hear all different stories that weren't true at all. So I think you'll get pregnant sitting on the jacks. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I think the schools should probably step up now and educate that a little bit more. I agree, absolutely. I mean, it's so important that, we do have those conversations, because, I mean, it's human nature. Kids are going to be curious. Also, perhaps maybe not now at a young age, but when they're a bit older, they will encounter people who choose to have certain pronouns or choose to present themselves in a certain way. And why not give them the tools now to be a bit equipped? So when that happens, they can have nice conversations and be supportive of people and not make people feel uncomfortable. And because I think a lot of the time it's about people feel they have to explain themselves all the time, and we don't have to explain ourselves, so why should anyone, in a way. So I think it's just getting that bit of conversation. It's a bit of conversation. That's what it is. I always say we've come leaps and bounds in this country. My goodness me, you can't deny it. It's fantastic, but it's about having the conversation. I think it's like anything, if you want to get, people say, well, what can I do? If they maybe it's not about raising funds for charity all the time. So I always say, and I have to do it myself, absolutely. I mean, we're all a bit thick sometimes. Just have a conversation. Talk about it to someone, because you talking about it to one person means they're going to talk about it to someone else, and it would be like a glorious, fabulous STD. It would do the records. You know what I mean? We would go nationwide, so just have a chat about it. And there's so many resources as well. There's phenomenal accounts on Instagram. And if you follow, any LGBTQ plus people or any charities or any activists, they will share these great accounts, and they'll share really useful. I remember Michelle Visage there recently from Drag Race. She put up every flag within the LGBTQ plus community, lesbian flags, ally flags, non-binary flags. And I was like, I had a clue in my ignorance. I knew some of them, but I was going, wow, this is brilliant. This is great. So there's 1,000,001 great resources there. So just have a look, have a gander, be nosy. We are nosy people by nature. So, root through that person's bin. Why not, And tell me what this fund is. Tell me a little bit about that, the charity that you're going. Yeah, so it's a Dublin Pride Fund at the Community Foundation for Ireland. So it's basically just make sure that there's an equal, dispersal of funds across charities across Ireland. So they're hitting a rate of charities which is great. And it's a registered charity. It does everything it's meant to do. And it's I suppose it's the chosen charity for Dublin Pride this year. So we kind of said, well, we very much want to showcase that Pride doesn't just have to be city centre. It can be around Dublin. So why not go for their charity then, just to further reinforce that link between Dublin Pride and me rolling around Malahide Castle in a pair of heels. You know what I mean? So it's great.
Come here, James. Can I ask you about your relationship with Vanessa? Like, it just seems so lovely.
You know, we're best friends. You really are. I mean, she is 5 years older. I like to get that in there. You know, 5 years. Yeah. She is honestly, she's my best friend, really. You know, we are just so close, always were growing up. She's very supportive of me. Like, you know, when I was a kid, I would have been, as I said, very quiet, very shy, bullied, and Vanessa would be there going, well, like, you know, I won't say what she would say, but, you know, she'd be saying, infect them, you know, for want of a better word. And she would always say, if you need anything, just talk to me. So generous growing up all the time, because she was, so 5 years is a considerable enough gap. If you look at, say, you know, 10 versus 15, you know, or 11, 16. So it is, but I mean, every weekend we go into town together, we go into Pennies, and honestly, she'd give me the sun, moon, the stars. She's brilliant. So very fortunate to have a great relationship with her. And I mean, it's been a great year as well. She got married finally. She's pregnant now, herself and Sean. So it's just, I couldn't be happier. And you know when someone just deserves a bit of happiness, we all deserve happiness, but she in particular, I'm like, good woman, good on you. It's brilliant. It really is. Are
you very protective over her?
Absolutely. Oh, I am. Jesus, I am. I mean, I remember, you know, around Christmas there, we did, it was the Malahide Melodies. We did Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas on Christmas Eve. And I remember someone commented being like, oh, Geraldine was eating the mince pies. Wow. I nearly fucking annihilate them. And I just kind of, and I was like, I don't know if Vanessa sees, sure, Vanessa saw it, of course. And she was like, oh, great. And I said, Vanessa, look, this person, we don't know them. They don't know us. You are in a joke shop, size large, velour Christmas dress, and you're right at the front of the camera, and we're pumping sweat. I was like, I look like a platypus next to you. So I was like, we look like shit, Vanessa. You know, that's okay. You know, but what's even about that? Even if we looked like three supermodels, what drove this person to write that? So I think I politely replied to their comments, and just kind of said, like, I hope you feel great about yourself now. But look, Vanessa, she's like, I'm 36, whatever. Water off ducks back, but I would be very protective. And the same woman to ask, like, you know, if people are sending me comments, look, come for me all you want, but why don't slag them? Because in fairness, they're not in putting themselves up there on their account. You know, they're doing it just with me. They're not, you know, making money or anything like that. Any of the skits that I do, 99% of them, they're not sponsored. You know, they're just us having the crack. Yeah. And so I'm just kind of like, don't be at them. But yeah, I'd be very protective of Vanessa. Absolutely. Anyone says anything bad, I'm like, what did you just? Excuse me. I'll go for them. You know what I mean? You have to though. You have to. You know, family is everything. Definitely.
And what is it going to be like when the baby comes? Oh my God.
Oh Jesus. Well, it'll be great now to be here for Christmas. It'll be fantastic. They will be in a variety of Christmas ensembles. I've no doubt. It's so exciting. I have to say, I mean, like, I need to stop buying stuff, to be honest. Like, anything I see, I'm like, oh, it's amazing. And I've kind of bought a few nice, not to 3 months, but I'm kind of now buying 3 to 6 because realistically they'll probably be in the not to 3 months for a week or something. You know what I mean? So mine were. Yeah, like literally. So they'll be flying through. So yeah, I'm just kind of getting everything, and it's great. It really is just so exciting. We can't wait, you know, and I suppose it's great that it's kind of, you know, the country is moving a bit as well, because you know, in terms of Vanessa going in for hospital appointments and that, she's able to have Sean with her now, which is, I think, is so important. I think Irish women went through a lot there now, as they have done all their lives, which over the last year in particular, it's been tough to, especially if unfortunately someone was in a negative situation. They had to deal with a lot on their own, which is, look, it's the way it was, unfortunately. So it's great that, she'll be in the swing of her pregnancy when things are kind of moving. And the summer as well, which is brilliant. We can go out the back garden, we can do this, we can go for walks and stuff.
It changes your life though. You're going to just, like, even Christmas is going to be just so magical now going forward for you guys. I'm so excited for you because it's just...
Well, thanks, right? No, it's great. And I think that Vanessa and John, I think they're going to be great parents. They really are. They're fantastic. They're so caring and everything. And it's all about, and Sean is so family oriented as well. Sean's and caring. He's all about his family, always was, which is great, so yeah, it's going to be, as I said, very magical. A lot of shite everywhere. I will have to learn how to change diapers. God, diapers? What am I, a Yank? I'm from New York. I am. It's all the Real Housewives I'm watching.
I know.
Yes, I will be learning how to change nappies. God help us all. And that'll be exciting.
I'm sure it's godfather, or godmother, or what?
Well, it'll be. Nothing has been officially asked yet, Rebecca. Okay. But I do believe I could be. Perhaps I have a lot of experience as a fairy godbrother. I have a lot of experience with the wings and the wands, making things happen. So if should I be asked, I will relish in the opportunity. Absolutely.
And then James, about Jim, what was it like? When you're, because I just love him. Like, I love the use all, but Jim is like just that special person, because as a man, like my dad, his era, like, you know what I mean? They wouldn't do them things. Do you know what I mean?
No.
So when you're, especially as him being a barman as well, like, you know what I mean? He's like old school, but like, what was it like saying, Jim, I need you to wear this and do this?
Do you know something? I always say Gentleman Jim is what Dad would have been called when he was he's retired now, when he's working in the pubs, and he's a very he is the quiet man, shall we say, and Joan is like, he could say to Dad, I need you to go out there and stand on your head, and he'd say, okay, is that going to help you? And I'd say, yeah, and well, great, I'll do it. So he never would query anything, and I suppose he saw, when lockdown started, I think for a week the phone rang, Rebecca. Everything was, this gig is cancelled. That's not happening. This isn't working. So I was losing work left, right, and centre, and I was kind of going, oh, this is what is going on here, And I started doing the EastEnders homages shortly after that, and it kind of started out kind of just me and Mum and stuff, and then I'd say, Dad, I need a Doc Cotton, and I think you're the man for the role, and he'd say, oh Jesus. So he would kind of reluctantly, back on the wig. I wouldn't give him full makeup. There wouldn't be full lashes, because I think I'd probably blind the man. So it'd be just some signifiers, some lippy, the curler in the hair, the whole lot. And then honestly, as I say, when you're a barman in Malahide, everyone, so Dad would have he said he's I'm not going down to that fucking supermarket anymore. I can't walk down the fruit and veg, which what people are saying, they saw me, but he'd be laughing about it as well. And I think it was, people were saying to him, people were never, we touched on it earlier, Rebecca, no one was ever slagging. People were always going, oh my God, that was brilliant. That was so funny. Fair play to you. And he was kind of like, oh, well, that's actually a lovely thing to hear. So, and I remember Simon Harris tweeted being like, I think I tweeted being like, oh, great interview, and the late Simon Harris, because it was when it all kind of started, and he replied being like, oh, James, please keep the sketches going with Fran. I know they make a lot of people happy. And I showed that to Mum and Dad, and they were like, well, if he said to keep going, well, we have to, So the ASOS orders started flying, the wigs were coming in, there was dresses coming out of me, what, and it was exciting. It really was, and Dad very supportive, like all of them. And I remember Vanessa, she obviously doesn't live with us, and she couldn't come. She was like, geez, when can I do it? When can I be in one? And she eventually did make it. I think Vanessa's first appearance was she was Linda Carter. She had a fabulous donut on top of her head. It was great. And yeah, so I'm very fortunate. I really am very fortunate, Rebecca, to have them to be so supportive, because it just makes life a lot easier.
Yeah,
it really does, and it creates a great atmosphere as well to feel supported in anything, in any work you do. Like you, Rebecca, doing the podcast. I'm sure your family are so supportive of you and so behind you. It just makes things that bit easier, and you feel better in yourself.
They're like your champions. You always like it, and I don't think people are that lucky, James. And I think it's so, like, for you guys and making those memories, like, you know, together. It's just, and you can show the baby then when the baby comes along and all, like in years to come, like, this is nanny and granddad, like, because we don't have that. We don't, as you know, I don't have that of my nanny and granddad. So, it's like, it's going to be really fabulous. I think the Pat Butcher was just iconic. Iconic.
It's and Mum really looks like her.
Yes.
It's weird. I always say I think Fran has a bit of a face like Meryl Streep. You know, she can be adapted into anything. You know what I mean? But it's the Pat Butcher, and actually the Pat Butcher wig is Malahide woman's wig, just brushed back. So, you know, it's very versatile, the wig. And I mean, I got a bit of a fright when she did it, and it was because it's actually it's a simple look to recreate, because if you have the wig, all you need is the huge earrings, a massive coat, some form of a bit of fur, or some form of a bit of leopard scarf, and then the blue eyeshadow. Brilliant. You know, and it took a while to get the blue eyeshadow right, because I was using just an old palette that we had, and I was like, right, I need to invest in some good blue pigment here. So I was off down to Boots, getting the stuff, you know, organized, get the eyeshadows. But the Pat Butcher's gas, even just to look at it, so funny. It's just mad. Iconic. It is. It's mad. I just loved it. And when I just, like, you go back, as I said, and you can see all the, but when I was going through your Instagram, just for a bit of research, and I seen and I remember seeing that, and I was like, just like, that is just mad. So I love seeing it. And other than your family, James, who are your champions? Who are your go-to people? Oh, that's gosh! I have a few. I mean, I think my best friend since I was 12 is Cormac. My friend Cormac. He was in school with me and stuff. He lives in Malahide. He is. I would call him the voice of reason in my life. If I'm ever like, I don't know what to do, it could be about work or anything like that, I always tell him to see what he thinks, because he's very logical and stuff, and very honest. Sometimes too honest. Sometimes I'm like, well, F you bollocks for saying that. You know, but he's amazing. He's absolutely brilliant, and himself and my friend Jennifer, we have a WhatsApp group, and it's called BFRS, the Big Fat Rotten Shites. We call ourselves, and so we would when we can go away and stuff, and we'd be great pals. And then my friend Clem as well, Clementine, she is just one of, if not my bestie. I have a few besties, you know. But Clem is certainly up there. She's just like, we talk every day, every single day, and she's great, so supportive, so much fun, great crack, mad out of it. You know what I mean? And again, she's just someone who's very supportive of me, and to be honest, of my whole family. Like, you know, she's just brilliant. Mum and Dad and Vanessa love her to bits, and she's always been great. She really has. So I'm very lucky to have the few mates, and work-wise as well. I always have to shout out this lady, Suzie Griffin. She works in RT. She was the first person to ever give me any bit of anything really in RT. She had me in doing social media bits, just because she knew that social media was important. This is like years ago now, and it was a Rose of Tralee, Dancing with the Stars. She was very supportive in that, and I think she's someone that I always think of, because Suzie had nothing to gain from that. She was just saying, oh, I think he could be good, you know, let's give him a shot. And I always think we need more people like that in life, who see something and say, you know what, it's nothing to me, but I'm going to give this person a bit of a chance. And she's now a great friend of mine as well. She's fantastic. So I'm lucky, and you know, it's great. And work-wise, like, you know, it's great to have a bit of support there, someone you can talk to as well. And then of course the Panto gang as well, Ryan Andrews and stuff. He's just brilliant. He's a champion himself, a warrior, I call Ryan Andrews, himself and Michaela. They're great, and again, it's just people that you can, you know, someone that, you know, you could ring up at 3 a.m. and say, I'm fucked. Can you give me a ticket? Yeah, and you know they'd be there.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky. Ryan and Ash, they're brilliant. So yeah, it's important to have mates. It's important to have good mates. And I think as you get older as well, Rebecca, you're not going to have as many, as when you're early 20s and you're flithering around the place with everyone. And I think, and that's okay, and I think, and you lose friendships over the years as well. And it's the part and parcel with life, it's no one's fault. It just happens. But I suppose you'll always have the few that come through with you that have seen all the misery and all the rot, and they're still there, which is great, so I'm very lucky in that way. Thank God,
And do you ever get down days, like through lockdown when you were getting those phone calls in the very beginning? Was it tough?
Oh, geez, Rebecca, you get down days. Well, you really would. I mean, I suppose, you just you'd be going, oh, gosh, that's another job gone, or this isn't happening, or whatever. And yeah, I mean, there many a day last year, particularly in the first lockdown and second, actually, where you wouldn't get out of bed. You just wouldn't. And I think it's important to have those days as well, And I suppose ultimately, I'm lucky that I would never get into a state of mind where I felt completely helpless or completely lost. And I know a lot of people can get to that point, and it's no one's fault. It just happens. It's just the way our brain goes sometimes. And I think a lot of that is to do with maybe talking about it. So if I was having a shit day, I'd say, Mum would say, yeah, all right. So I go, Mum, do you know what? I'm actually having a shite day, but I know I'm okay. It's just one of those things. And she'd be like, you are more than entitled to feel that. We all get them. And a lot of the time, if I did feel particularly low, that would be when I'd black out a wig and I'd say, okay, let's do something about this. Let's have a laugh about it. Let's have a joke about it. Let's have a skit. And a lot of it can come down to, Instagram is fantastic. It's great. But when you spend so much time looking at other people, you're kind of going, oh, well, that person is off on their staycation now. That person's engaged. That person's doing this. Oh, should I be doing that? And it's only natural to compare, but just I endeavor never to get too much into it, because that is that person's journey. That is what that person is meant to be doing right now.
Yeah.
And I'm doing things that perhaps other people envy, that and they wish they were doing. And you just have to kind of accept everyone's going to have their own path. Everyone's going to do their own thing. And in the end, it'll be fine. Yeah. In the end, it'll be grand. It'll all be grand.
Can I ask you then about love life? And is it hard in your position to find somebody that's honest, that's, not just coming because you're James Patrice?
I mean, it could be a bit, it's always so funny, like on Tinder and stuff, I don't have it now, but you would have it, you'd be swiping, and if you match with someone, they'd say, oh, how's Fran? How's your man? And I'm kind of like, okay, first of all, I'm not Beyonce. By any means. I'm a bloke who has a few followers. I wouldn't even consider that worth saying. You know what I mean? So,
but you should.
And well, geez, well, thank you.
No, because as I said to you, but as I said to you, what you do for people through that platform, like I'm not going to sit here and lick your arse. Do you know what I mean? Or like a book.
It'd be hard to do
yes,
through the screen, through the perspex. But sure, look.
But I just think that it is what you're doing for people. You're raising people up as Beyonce would raise people up. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, no, that's nice of you to say. Thank you. I appreciate that, Rebecca. But I suppose getting back to what you said then as well. If someone does say to me, "Oh, you're I have you on Instagram," I'm always a bit apprehensive, because I'm going, they're looking at my page and they're seeing just a snippet of who I am, but they've already made a decision about who I am from that. And that always just kind of throws me a bit, and I'm always a bit like, oh, it's okay, a bit weird. But look, no one's ever mean or anything like that. It's just, you're always wondering, they have this preconceived notion about me. What are they thinking? So, and then I suppose it's kind of, it's navigating through that and getting to a point where you say, if the conversation flows, you might say, okay, well then let's meet up. and see how it goes. But it's there's nothing at the moment, Rebecca. And look, it's hard as well in the last year. So you're sitting yourself, I'm not going to go on a date, because what if that person, even if I'm outside having a coffee, had second COVID?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a difficult time for single people. I think defo was a difficult time for everyone, of course. But, you know, in terms of just getting through it with relationships and that, and trying to maybe get a date or something, it's a bit of a pain in the hole. But, you know, look, we're moving on. Things are opening again. So maybe I'll meet the love of my life, Rebecca, in I don't know, down in Tesco. You never know. You never know. I suppose, and if anyone is listening to the Everywhere We Go podcast with Rebecca, yes, I am very single. Just putting that out there. Just putting it out there, you know.
And tell me about it is the success because of the fact that it's your show, Food Truck Wars. How did that come about, and is that really exciting? And was that always going to be you, or were you going up against other people to get that?
So it was great, Rebecca. I suppose I had been on the RC player about other things, so I think I was in their mind about it, you know. So when they contacted me, I'm not sure. Maybe if they contacted other people as well. I don't know, but from what I can gather is I was kind of in their mind for it, because I was in their mind for other things. So I suppose it's kind of a revolving door of ideas in there, you see. So, you know, it might work for this, it might work for this. So it was great when I got asked to do it, and I kind of was asked to do it for Christmas. Then I heard nothing about it. And I was like, and it was kind of, it was like, it might be you, it might be someone else with you. And I was like, okay, whatever, grand. Heard nothing. Then it was like February. I was like, once again, I was like, okay, it's happening. It just kept getting delayed because of COVID.
Yeah.
That's the thing. See, I think it was meant to be back in March, actually, to be honest. But it was all just delayed the whole time. And then we eventually shot it anyway. And we did 6 episodes. And I have to say, so much fun. I was delighted to be asked, and I was honored to be asked, because I suppose it's the first time that I was really hosting a show, just me, on my own. You know, because I would host backstage stuff for Dance with the Stars. I'm a reporter for the Today Show, which is amazing. Love them all, and the experience that you get doing those, because it's very much thinking on your feet. You know, it's amazing. So this is the first time that it was just me hosting it, and I was like, okay, right, here we go. And I was a little bit nervous, I suppose, beforehand. But then when you're there and you get into the swing of it, it's great, because you just kind of think to yourself, okay, I always say you're breaking it down. It's like you doing the podcast, Rebecca. All you're doing is having a conversation with someone. You know, fair enough, you're doing a few links to camera and with some epic drone shots of the fields in the middle of Bray, which is gorgeous, of course. But ultimately, when you break it down, it's just communication. It's just having the chat, and it's getting to know the people behind the food trucks, getting to know their stories, and some amazing stories. I mean, people that had only opened recently, people that were chefs all their lives, and then decided to go out in their own. People that had restaurants that had to adapt to food trucks because of COVID. So it was great. It's a good, interesting show, because they're not just judged on the food, they're judged on their whole thing about how they brand themselves, how they present the food, how they might put this food on social media, how they can navigate their way through challenges, because there's different challenges in every episode. So it's a juicy one. And at the end, when I'm unveiling who's going home, I felt like Tyra Banks there with the envelope. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, it was like the X Factor, Dermot O'Leary. It was very dramatic, because ultimately, you know, you're getting on great with everyone, but someone's packing up the truck and off they go. Yeah. So it's quite dramatic, but it's great fun. And you know what? It wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for COVID. Yeah. Because I mean, look, there was food trucks there, of course, but they kind of just exploded in the last year, because I think a food truck, it was a new social activity for people. You know, like, okay, I'm going to put on a nice denim jacket and a nice tea, head down and have a burger. And that's as exciting as it's going to get, you know. So I think people will like it. I hope they do anyway.
When is that going to air? When does it air?
So the first episode is the 22nd of June. Okay. And the finale is the end of July. So it's all go. There's lots. The food looks amazing as well. And obviously with COVID and that, we weren't really able to try the food. It was just, you know, safe portions were done for the judges and that. So you'd be salivating there. Oh, I can imagine. At the stuff, you know.
James, when was it that either through broadcasting or your life that you thought yeah, I kind of made it, or have you felt that you've made it, or?
Do you know something? I think I don't know if you'll ever feel like you've made it, you know. But I know the feeling you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I know, but I don't know if you'll ever kind of think you've gotten there, because things can change so quickly, and and work is so, like, superficial sometimes as well, and things can change, and you can lose a job, you can get a job, and I think just enjoy it while it's happening. Take each day as it comes, and just kind of embrace it and see what happens. And I very much, I suppose, try not to plan too much, because you don't know how things are going to turn out. But I think the main thing is take an opportunity. You know what I mean? Seize it. And in the same breath, you don't have to say yes to everything either, because if I would say go with your gut. So if something comes your way and you think, oh, I'm not sure about that, and maybe seek a bit of advice, see what other people think, and just kind of go with your gut, and know your worth as well, and know that you don't have to do everything, and just kind of and just roll with the punches and see what happens. So in terms of kind of making it, I don't know, but I think maybe it's not a bit, but have I made it? It's maybe, am I enjoying it?
Yeah.
So I think that's the main thing. Is just enjoy it, have the crack, and if you get to say that you're enjoying what you're doing, I think that's a blessing. Definitely.
And it's really interesting that you said about knowing your worth. So it is really important.
Absolutely. And look, I understand, I suppose, in early days of any job really, or any career that you're kind of looking to get into, it's a balancing act. You understand you will have to do the odd thing for the exposure or the experience, but I think ultimately weigh up the opportunity and say, okay, will doing this lead to something else? Will this put me on someone else's radar? And if it is, and they're asking you to do for nothing, much as it is a rot, maybe do it once.
Yeah.
Maybe do it once and see. But don't, no, that's just people taking the piss, really, isn't it? Because just because you're, you might be new at something doesn't mean you're any less, you're any worse than someone else. So, I think don't have the piss taken out of you, and know your worth. And again, that would be an example of ask my arse. Yeah. You know what I mean? Maybe not to a future business opportunity, but if someone's taking the piss, just say, hang on now, pal. I'll leave it there. Thanks. You know what I mean? I know my worth, and I know that I'm better than that. And then what does the future hold for James? Jeez. If I had a crystal ball. I know. Very like. Well, I suppose, Rebecca, it's kind of what I said. I would try not to plan too much. I would take kind of opportunities as they come and just give it a go, Rebecca, and see what happens. So I think once I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and once my family are healthy and good in the future, then I'm happy with that, definitely. And if it be that through work or personally, who knows? Once you're happy, I'm wearing a Share t-shirt. Once you don't want to turn back time, then I think you're okay. Yeah. And before I let you go, because you touched on something earlier on about bullying. Do you see your bullies now? And do they follow you? Do you know, it's an unusual one. Yeah. I mean, I could see lads from school and stuff who would have slagged you back in the day, saying, oh, you faggot, you girl. I always laughed at the being called a girl as though that wasn't a bad thing. You will see them around now. They might have kids, and they might say, oh, me missus loves following you. And I'm like, oh, that's very good. And I suppose I just kind of, I would never hold anything against anyone ever, but you would kind of think to yourself, I don't forget, an elephant never forgets. And look, I mean, kids can be mean, and kids maybe when they say things haven't had life experience and haven't been exposed to things where they should know better. But yeah, I think you would see them. You just say, you know what, life is too short to hold too much of a grudge, even though sometimes you have to hold a grudge, I think, because you're passionate enough about it. But no, you would see them, and it is a bit gas, and they'd say, oh, I have you on Instagram. I'm like, all right, okay, very good for you. So look, sure, you know what, Rebecca, isn't it another follower? Yeah. That's great. We won't turn our nose up to them. Yeah, well, there you go. Because it is, as you say, that the fact that now that they were the bullies and now they have children.
And you know, and that's, you're like, okay.
Yeah,
so,
I know. It's so true. You think to yourself, I hope now that you're not going to behave the same way, or you're not going to instill a certain ideal into your child growing up. And I hope that, you know, you're going to be a bit more open with your kids and a bit more tolerant, shall we say. So yeah, hopefully. But I have faith in people, and I have faith that people will like do the right thing ultimately and get their head out of their arse. Yeah. Which is important, you know.
And before, again, what would you say? Like, I know I'd say to you, what's a 3 little word you'd say to your younger self? Ask me arse. But
yes.
What would you say, like, to anyone struggling now to come out to their parents, or to come out to their friends, or just to come out? What would you say to them?
I would say, you know what, you might not get the answer that you want to hear at the start. Unfortunately, you might get a better answer than you thought you'd hear from people. But just remember that ultimately, there's always going to be a huge amount of people that support you, a huge amount of people that love you. You might be disappointed by some people, but if that's the case, maybe that person just needs a bit more time for whatever reason, and maybe they're not meant to be around. You know what I mean? So I think just take it day by day. Enjoy it. Enjoy the liberation of saying to someone who you are and revealing, you know, who you are as a person, your sexuality, and not that your sexuality defines you by any means, but it is a big part of who you are. So enjoy the freedom, enjoy the liberation, have a laugh, have a ride safely, and the 3 words I swear by: keep her lit.
Keep her lit.
Definitely, it's actually yes, I have it on the mug. Yeah. Keep her lit. You have to, because life is too short. Life is too short to be rotted. So just keep her lit. Absolutely.
And on that note, James, thank you so much for sitting down with me. You're such a superstar.
Well, Rebecca, thank you. And congratulations, by the way, on the podcast, because it's just amazing. I can't wait to see where it goes. You're flying it. You're brilliant. Literally, honestly, you're like Steven Spielberg there from the kitchen. You know what I mean? Doing the stuff. It's brilliant. So I see great things in my crystal ball for Rebecca.
Thanks very much.